But thank you all so much for joining us for Know Your Shopping Rights. Have you ever had a negative shopping experience? Find out how you can get shopping problems resolved. Robin Putnam, who's the Events and Outreach Manager for the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation, will discuss support that's available to you regarding expressed and implied warranties, return policies, defective merchandise, pricing discrepancies, and shopping online through the mail and television. Again, want to thank the Friends of the Tewksbury Library for all their support, and we partner with a few libraries who helped us promote the program. Those libraries include Burlington, Rockport, Norwood, and Manchester. So we thank them very much. So all nearly 50 of us who are going to be watching live, and all those that watch the recording, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Robin for joining us this afternoon. And Robin, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. It's a gorgeous, sunny Friday afternoon. So my name is Robin Putnam, and I work for the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation. We are a state agency located in downtown Boston, though we are still kind of doing a little virtual work, which is fine. I can work from wherever. So the mission of the Office of Consumer Affairs, we have two goals. One is to protect and empower consumers through advocacy and education, and also to ensure fair playing field for those businesses in Massachusetts. The office oversees the state lemon laws, the data breach notifications, and the home improvement contractor programs. Also, the state do not call registry. If you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, we do have a consumer hotline that is run Monday through Friday from 9 to 4:30. It is not automated. You will get a human being who will answer the phone. The phone number is 617-973-8787. And I'll repeat the phone number at the very end as well. I always bring up our consumer hotline at the very beginning because we are really here to help consumers, and we do take calls from all over the country. So if we can be of help to you, we would like to be of help to you, please give us a call. I will say it's Monday through Friday, so if it's after hours, do leave us a message and we will get back to you within 2 business days. So the Office of Consumer Affairs, we have 5 regulatory agencies underneath the Office of Consumer Affairs. We have the Division of Banks, the Division of Assurance, the Division of Standards, the Division of Occupational Licensure, and the Department of Telecommunications and Cable. So if you ever have an issue with something, maybe you got a cable bill and your cable provider isn't being very helpful, you can call us and we will get you to the consumer hotline for the Division of the Department of Telecommunications and Cable. Excuse me. And some of the things that our consumer hotline specialists take on when they answer the phones, we talk about the home improvement contractor law, sometimes the lemon law rights, landlord tenant issues, general consumer protection laws, and sometimes small claims. But really, quite honestly, we hear about everything from A to Z. So whatever you may need, please do give us a call. We are here. We'd like to hear from you. So we're trying to kind of talk a little bit about shopping rights. You know, shopping is a part of our everyday life, and knowing your protection laws can really help make you make more informed decisions about the different purchases you're going to make. But do remember that this lecture is really regarding state of Massachusetts. So if you are listening in from a different state, your laws may be a little bit different. But also these consumer protections are more for businesses that you're doing business with. It's not, say, a private party sales, such as, say, Craigslist, things like that. It's, going to Best Buy or, dealing with Amazon or something like that. It's an actual business. So if you bought a computer, say, at a yard sale, these laws won't cover that. So before you head to your favorite store, we're going to talk about some three different terms that you should know. The truth in advertising, bait and switch, and what is a sale. So in Massachusetts, it is illegal for a salesperson to make false or misleading representations about a product or service, or withhold any information about a product in an attempt for you to not want to buy that product. they might lure you in. It's called bait and switch. And that is actually illegal in Massachusetts. Massachusetts, our salespersons cannot sell merchandise as is, or try to pass off that product as, say, a new product if it actually has been refurbished, or try to sell an item using what is referred to as bait and switch. And I'm going to go into bait and switch a little bit, but I just want to jump off. So truth in advertising. So when you are looking at advertisements, always look at the fine print, such as limited quantities available while supplies last. If a merchant is saying that, they're kind of covering their bases, because they might have been given a very limited amount of product that is going to go on sale. So just be aware of the fine print. It's just one thing I always try to remind people. It protects them in case that product actually sells out. And a store cannot tell you about a great deal if they don't actually have that great deal going on. So bait and switch. I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. So bait and switch is when a merchant will lure you into their store with a really enticing advertisement for a product. The merchant may try to convince you to buy the item that you came in for, but what they're going to do is try to see if they can change your mind. And they might say, this product really isn't that great, but we have this better product over here. You might want to look at this one. So they attempt to pressure you into buying something different, and that product is not what was actually in the advertisement. If you ask for that product and the seller tells you, no, you don't want to take that product, or tries to upsell you on a different item, that's called bait and switch. And in Massachusetts, that is actually illegal. So just be aware of, when it's talking with salespeople, and be aware of what the conversations you're having with them, and look at the fine print before you go into that store. So in Massachusetts, what does it mean for a term to be considered a sale? And what if the savings are actually not stated? So here, the savings have to be at least 10% for items that are regularly priced $200 or less. Now, if the product is over $200, the savings have to be at least 5%. Now, another question that kind of does come up from time to time, what if an item that you recently purchased goes on sale? There is no law, unfortunately, for that store to have to refund the difference in the price. However, many stores will give you a refund out of goodwill. So just be aware that it is not the store doesn't have to give you that deal and pay the difference. And I know that sometimes that can be confusing or frustrating, but I know that in my experience with dealing with stores and sales, all of that, if you talk to the manager and have a good conversation, inevitably they do want to make sure that you're happy. They want you to go home and say, you know what, I went to Best Buy. This is just an example. I'm not saying anything, derogatory about Best Buy. It's just an example. But, the consumer is going to go home and say, I bought the TV for $250. It went on sale for $150. I talked to the manager, and he or she was really great. They gave me another 10% off, even though I bought it prior to the sale. They want you to be happy. I mean, they also do know that we have social media. So, if there are times when people will spout off on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and say, I went to this store, I bought my computer, and then it went on sale and the manager wasn't nice. So, I think if you're just honest and go and talk with those store managers, they're going to want to work with you. It's just, it's all about having, good business practices. So refunding, returning, or cancellation policies. All sales are final, merchandise credit only, full cash refund within 30 days. In Massachusetts, refund policies there is no blanket refund policy. The only time there is a blanket refund policy is when there is defective merchandise. So if you purchase something, even if the actual return policy says that all sales are final, if you purchase something and you get it home and it is defective, you can actually go back to that store and say, look, I want a repair. You need to repair it. You need to give me a new one, or I want my money back. And that is just a blanket law regarding defective merchandise. Now, if a store is giving you a difficult time, you can actually write a 30-day demand letter to that store. It is something that we can all have in our back pockets. You can actually go to our website, and we have templates on how to write a 30-day demand letter. And what you're going to do, you're just telling the store manager, look, I bought this product, it's full price or whatever the cost was. I got it home, it's defective. I want my money back. I want you to fix it, or I want a brand new one. And with a 30-day demand letter, they have up to 30 days to respond, or they can be held liable for triple damages. So have that in your back pocket. Again, also, if you are having difficulty dealing with a store, you can actually file a formal complaint against a business with the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. And that goes actually across the country. Any attorney general will take a complaint against a business. So again, have that in your back pocket if you don't feel you are being treated well. It's just one of those things that I always try to remind people. So warranties. What is exactly a warranty? Basically, it's a two-part pledge to you. First, it promises that the merchandise that was sold is sold as represented. Second, it promises you that you will receive repairs, a replacement, or a refund if it is not the quality or condition that was actually represented to you. So why are these options? Because every purchase of goods carries a warranty that is implied by law, even if the seller does not mention them or tries to disclaim them. So what exactly is implied warranty of merchantability? So you purchased merchandise, and that merchandise must do what is actually intended to do with reasonable safety, efficiency, and ease, and for the reasonable period of time. So for example, if you buy a toaster, and for the first couple of weeks, the toaster is working and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but within a couple of weeks or maybe a month or two, it stops working. Through the implied warranty of merchantability, you can actually go back to whomever sold you that toaster and say, look, the toaster doesn't work. It should last more than 6 months. I would like my money back. I'd like a repair. I want a brand new toaster. What is implied warranty of fitness for a particular purchase? Let's just say you walk into a shoe store and you are a runner, and you walk in, you say to the salesperson, I want running shoes because I am now a marathon runner. That salesperson should reasonably have knowledge about particular shoes for running. That's the purpose that they are there. And to inform you, the buyer, because they are relying on you, the consumer is relying on the seller for their advice. The seller may be in a breach of warranty if the product is not sufficient for the purpose for what you have stated. So if you walk into the running store and you want the running shoes, and let's just say you go home and they sell you walking shoes. I know it's kind of a funny example, but if it's not a running shoe and you wanted a running shoe, through the implied warranty of fitness for a particular purpose, you can actually go back to that store and say, hey, I walked in, I wanted running shoes, they sold me walking shoes. Those are kind of things with implied warranties. I did mention defective merchandise. Do make sure with any kind of purchase, make sure you save your receipts. It's just one of those things that's going to make life a little bit easier when if you ever have a challenging time with a merchant. Merchandise credits, gift cards, and gift certificates. So gift certificates, gift cards, sometimes there's some wiggle room around all of these items. So gift certificates are always a popular option for any gift giver, from nail salons to restaurants, grocery stores, etc. Remember these rules. Gift card purchases in Massachusetts are good for 7 years and are not subject to any fees, including dormancy fees, as long as they are not backed by a federal bank. For example, American Express, those will actually have dormancy fees. So if you have purchased a gift card and it's not backed by a federal bank, once you have used 90% of the card's value, you may spend that extra 10%, whatever's left, or you may be able to, you can choose to take the remaining amount, the remaining value in cash. Gift certificates, they must be clearly marked with an expiration date and an issuance date and have the dates available online or printed on the sales receipt. If there are no dates and they are not provided to you, the gift certificate is good forever. So the other time, what I think sometimes people run into, especially during the pandemic that happened, is a lot of people did purchase gift cards to restaurants and some smaller mom and pop stores. Unfortunately, they went out of business. In these instances, there's very little that you can do. You can go to the bankruptcy courts and try to get some of your funds back, but inevitably it can be very, very challenging to get the money back. Excuse me. What's a cooling off period? Most people think, oh, I have 3 days for a cooling off period. I should be perfectly fine. I can return any goods, doesn't even matter. Unfortunately, that is not true here in Massachusetts. There are very specific entities and times when you could actually use a cooling off period. One is door-to-door sales. So if you make a purchase through door-to-door sales and the purchase is over $25, other than a merchant's usual place of business, the federal law, the Massachusetts and federal law allows you 3 days to cancel and get your money back. You must notify the seller in writing within 3 business days of signing the contract, and you must allow the seller to pick up the goods at your house or agree to ship the items back to the seller at no cost to you. If the seller does not pick up the goods within 20 days of notice of cancellation, then you may keep or dispose of those goods as you wish. Another instance where cooling off does work, credit repairs or service organizations. So you may cancel a contract for a credit repair or services until midnight of the 3rd business day after signing that agreement. Your payment will be returned within 10 business days of the organization receiving your cancellation notice. So gym and health club memberships, that falls under cooling off as well. So consumers have 3 business days to cancel a health club contract, no matter where it was signed. And that includes health spas, sports clubs, weight control centers, and martial arts schools. They're all considered health clubs. Cancellation must be done by written notice, and your money must be returned within 15 days. Timeshares. Timeshares are very tricky. They do fall under cooling off in Massachusetts. To cancel a timeshare contract, you must notify the seller of your intent to cancel no later than 3 business days after signing the contract. If you pay by check, a refund must be made immediately as long as the check was not deposited into the seller's account. Otherwise, it must be refunded within 7 days. If you paid by credit card, a credit must be made to your account immediately. Now with timeshares, I just would make sure you realize this is Massachusetts. Timeshares in different states have different laws. So before you go into any contract, signing a contract regarding timeshares in whatever state, I would really look at the fine print. What are the cooling off periods? What are the warranties? All of that. And that goes really honestly for any purchase you're going to make. Look at the fine print. I know a lot of shopping online can be a little challenging. Hey, we buy it on Amazon, it says it's free shipping, free returns, no problem. But there are other companies out there that might have a restocking fee. I know that there are times where there are certain shoe companies out there and they may charge a restocking fee. Or electronics. Electronics is a little bit more challenging simply because they have to rewrap and repackage all of those little electronic goods. So yes, they're probably going to charge you a restocking fee. So before you purchase anything, make sure you are looking at what the return policies are, what are the warranties. Look at all the fine print. I can't stress that enough. If you can't find the information, go onto the business's website and or ask the manager. The store manager really should have all of that information right there for you. It's just imperative that you kind of do your own due diligence. You just can't say, oh, I didn't know. You have to, you really do need to be your own best advocate for yourself. And as I mentioned, if you are having a difficult time with a merchant and they're not treating you well, or you feel like they have deceptive business practices, you can call our office. But the best bet for you would be to file a complaint with the Attorney General's office and or the Better Business Bureau. Because quite honestly, no one wants the Better Business Bureau or the Attorney General's office knocking on your door to say, hey, you've got some business complaints. How are you going to handle this? Why are you doing the things with what you are doing? So in short, also to file a formal complaint with the Attorney General's office, you can go to mass.gov/AGO. They also have a consumer hotline at 617-727-8400. Now, if you are having issues with, say, item pricing, you can contact the Division of Standard, again, in Massachusetts. It's 617-727-3480. If you are having issues with, say, sales tax, or you don't understand the sales tax for Massachusetts, the Department of Revenue is 800-392-6089. If you feel that you purchased a product and it may be unsafe, or you want to check if the product is still safe, you can go to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. That's www.cpsc.gov. And they have a consumer hotline. It's 800-638-2772. And then just to kind of wrap things up, in Massachusetts, our office handles the home improvement contractor programs. If you're going to be doing business and if you're going to be doing work on your home and it's over $1,000, the contractor who's doing the work has to be registered by law through our office. So we have a registration program. We have an arbitration program and a complaint and hearing program. And we also have a guarantee fund that can pay consumers up to $10,000 in actual losses. And we also handle the state lemon laws. So if you've purchased a car here in Massachusetts and you're having issues, please do call us. We do have strong lemon laws here in Massachusetts, and we are happy to help you. And then again, our consumer hotline is 617-973-8787. We are on Facebook and we are on Twitter. We do put out blog posts. We are very busy. We try to get as much consumer information out to consumers every single day. But if you want to follow us on Facebook, or you want to go to YouTube, or you want to go to Twitter, you will find us there. And I will conclude this here. Are there any questions that have come in?
So Robin, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and knowledge with us. Greatly appreciate it. I know you've gone back to doing these in person, so I appreciate you doing this virtually for me. So we already have at least 8 questions for you.
Okay.
An anonymous attendee asks, what should I be careful about when I purchase the car that I have leased at the end of the lease? Do you have any suggestions or recommendations for that person?
Well, we don't necessarily handle, looking at things, we handle if you purchased a car and it turns out to be a lemon, then that's when you would call us. I mean, I can't really comment to that because you're going to have to do your own due diligence. I would make sure, this is just me speaking as a normal consumer, I would make sure you have it checked out by a reputable mechanic and make sure it passes all inspections. I would make sure that whomever you're dealing with, whoever's selling you that car, make sure they're a reputable company that you have done business with before, that you know and trust. If you're unsure about that business, you can, contact the Attorney General's office. You can also look at the Better Business Bureau and see if there are any complaints, if other consumers have had problems buying a car. I would get everything in writing, whether it's, you've got like a 30 days to take it back if you didn't like the car, or all of the different, if the warranties are still apply. I just would make sure you really do your due diligence and read through the entire contract. That's really important, because you just want to make sure there's no loopholes and everything looks good for you. That would be my biggest suggestions.
Great. So kind of two questions that kind of ask the same question here, so I'm going to combine. So an anonymous attendee asks, what happens if the company is an online company and a final sale item is defective? So let's say the company is based in Massachusetts, but they're not they don't have a physical location. Let's say they have they're an online company.
Yeah.
What happens in the case where they have a policy of final sale and the item is defective?
It's the same. You would file a formal complaint with the Attorney General's office, and you would say, abccompany.com. They are located, their headquarters are here in Massachusetts. I want to file a complaint. I purchased the goods. They arrived on time, but they are defective. The Attorney General's office would then take it from there. Now, I would say, though, if you are purchasing things online and you are using third-party sellers, I know that there are some box companies out there, and sometimes Amazon has third-party sellers. Not all of those third-party sellers have been vetted. So before you purchase anything from a third-party seller online, I would make sure you try to find as much information about that business as humanly possible, whether it's doing a Google search, typing the name of that company in a Google and seeing what are the responses, like what are the reviews here, seeing what the reviews are that are maybe online. Try to find out what country that business is located. Just because you want to cover your bases, if that business is out of the country, it is going to be very challenging to do anything about it. I will say that I did have an issue with a third-party seller through Amazon, and the company was in China, and everything arrived. Everything was a shenanigan. But because I had purchased the product through Amazon, they were really great. They gave me my money back immediately, and the third-party seller was no longer allowed to sell on Amazon. So do your due diligence before doing anything online.
Pat says they've noticed several stores have receipts that are printed on glossy paper. The print tends to disappear over time. Sometimes I copy the receipt, but not all people have access to a copier or a printer. Is there any way to require stores to use paper that prints so the print doesn't disappear over time?
You would have to actually talk to your state legislators to have a law drawn up for that, unfortunately. I would suggest, because obviously not all receipts are great, use your smartphone. Take a picture of the receipt, at least you have it on there. I know even the older flip phones do have camera phones, but that would be your best bet, because unfortunately that would need to be a law that would have to be enacted, and you'd have to start with your legislatures.
An anonymous attendee asks, could you please provide your contact information again? And where do I find the template for a 30-day demand letter? I think you referenced.
Sure. If the 30-day demand letter, if you go to mass.gov/consumer and you scroll all the way down, there is a section for consumer resources and rights, and you can find the template for the 30-day demand letter there. So our easy way to get to hold of us is our consumer hotline number, 617-973-8787. And our email address is consumer@mass.gov, G-O-V. And those emails actually come right to me.
Great. I will do my best to include that information in the follow-up email. Similar questions from Joyce, as well as an anonymous attendee. You rattled off some phone numbers, and they were wondering if they will be included in the follow-up email. All right.
Okay.
Peggy says a very specific question. What if the condo above yours floods your unit due to some sort of leak and they refuse to discuss it with you?
That is when you will have to go and take your issue through your condo association. Condos are challenging. You'd actually have to bring that up with your condo association.
Huck says, I've had great help from my credit card companies when I've had problems. And Elaine says, I found 2 sweaters at a store. The manufacturer's item numbers were identical. One was a large, one was a small. However, there was a $10 difference in price. The store wouldn't honor the cheaper price. They said there was a different store number. Was that okay for them to do?
There's a different manufacturers, I guess. I guess I'm not fully understanding the question. So it was the same. It sounds like it was made by 2 different companies.
So I'll read it again. These are kind of tough to do via Q&A. So Elaine found 2 sweaters at a store. The manufacturer's item numbers were identical, but they were different sizes. One was a large, one was a small. There was a $10 difference in price. The store wouldn't honor the cheaper price. They said there was a different store number. Elaine confirms it was the same manufacturer. Was that okay for them to do?
I'm not 100% sure. I would. It sounds very odd. It doesn't sound like good business practices to me personally. I would contact the Better Business Bureau as well as the Attorney General's office and explain the entire situation. Again, it's a little bit more challenging through a Q&A because I can't see anything, but I would say the Better Business Bureau as well as the Attorney General's office.
Anonymous attendee asks, how do I complain about contractors and plumbing work related to services?
Contractors and plumbers are different. If you want to file a formal complaint against your plumber, that would be through the Division of Occupational Licensure, and you can get that. You could call our phone number, and we can get you to DOL. Contractors, you can file a formal complaint against a contractor through our office. We have a complaint form that is online, and you can go right there and file a complaint. Yes.
And then I'm going to ask 2 questions that I think are going to wrap us up. My first question regards the do not call list. Okay, so Robin, I feel like I'm on the do not call list for both my home phone and my cell phone, yet I still on occasion, especially on my cell phone, get a lot of spam phone calls, if you will. Is there anything further I can do? I think I'm on the list, but I still occasionally get annoying phone calls.
Of course. So here's the thing about the do not call list. It only works for legitimate companies. So if you've done work with, say, LL Bean, if they don't stop calling you, yes, they can actually get a $10,000 fine. Now, not this, LL Bean is just an example, but the other issue is it doesn't apply to spam. It doesn't apply to scammers out there who are calling from another country. That's the gray line that's frustrating. I would suggest there is a website called nomorobo.com. And it's free for your home phone, and I think it's maybe $1 a month for a cell phone. But what that does is it will start to block robocalls. Another good thing that everybody should be doing prior to the pandemic, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, they rolled out a new program to basically, it verifies caller A before it gets to you, caller B. And if it's coming in and it is fraudulent, it will get blocked. And you will notice something. If you get a phone call and it says possible scam or spam, that means that the federal government's program is actually working. So another good thing to do, you can go to the federal trade ftc.gov and report all of those funky numbers that are coming in, because that actually helps the FCC's big program so that it will stop getting those numbers to you. The do not call list is a good start, and you're not, LL Bean is not going to keep calling you, but it's the scammers that are calling that they don't care, they don't live here, and they know they're never going to get found. And that's kind of where the challenging time is.
I muted myself, sorry. Anne in the chat noted that Nomo Robo really helped her out as well. And then my other question would be, Robin, and like this is really more of an etiquette question, but I feel like there's like some legal ramifications as well. But particularly during COVID, first of all, I eat out a lot, Robin. I eat out too much, Robin. Take out, dine out, you name it, okay? And I've noticed, especially during COVID, which I completely understand, restaurants were getting killed, that, a lot of restaurants, it seems, have sort of included, so I know like traditionally, like, if you have maybe a large party, they will include the gratuity, the tip within they'll put it on the receipt within, it's essentially, it's expected, it's built into the cost of the bill. And I know, usually if you have a party of, I'm not sure, 6 or over, 8 or over, 4 or over, whatever. Now I've noticed, even if it's just say 1 or 2 people, that they're often including the tip in the bill, and maybe they're calling it some sort of fee, but essentially they're in, so I guess my question is, is it legal for restaurants to like essentially include the tip within the fee? I know they're calling it something, not tip, but that's essentially what it is. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm not a lawyer, so I really can't answer a legal question, but
sure.
I do know that there are a lot of restaurants that if they have made it through the pandemic, thank goodness, that they are charging higher prices because they are now getting charged higher prices for food and takeout boxes and all of that, and they're passing on the expense to the consumer. My thought is, if you are upset about a specific restaurant, you can file a complaint. It's just, I don't believe there's a specific law to say, no, you can't do this. There is a restaurant around the corner from where I am, and they said, well, we're changing our whole practice. We're charging the consumers, I think it was another 30% of the actual bill, because, but they said that extra percentage was going to help pay their staff. Now, this is my thought, I'm like, well, why do I need to pay your staff to do their job? Why are you not paying them their more money? It's a lot of things have come out of the pandemic that have, in my opinion, seem very challenging. I would honestly file a formal complaint. The Better Business was an excellent venue to go down.
Yeah, I like to think I'm a sympathetic, empathetic person, but apparently, hopefully, coming out of this pandemic, it'll be interesting to see if these restaurants continue to use these new measures that they've put in place during the pandemic in terms of all these new fees that they've added to the receipts, to the bills. Okay, we had a couple more questions, then we're going to wrap it up. An anonymous attendee asks about spam texts. I imagine this is similar to spam phone calls, but is there anything we can do to cut down on spam texts?
I believe there are probably some apps that you can download that will help stop spam. I just would do your due diligence and do some poking around to see which apps would work best for you. I will say that text message fraud really jumped almost, I don't know, 100% during the pandemic. Because if you think about it, what happened during the pandemic? We're tired, we're cranky, we're doing a ton of online shopping, or going, ordering food online. So and they knew that people weren't going to answer the phones as much because they were online so much. So they changed their tactics and started sending obnoxious text messages. And really, quite honestly, they were simple. This is FedEx. This is Amazon. This is UPS. We have a package. Please click here. And that's it. Your best bet, quite honestly, is to block the number and put that number into your spam. I wouldn't respond to anything. Don't click on any links. Just delete it.
I've opened up a can of worms. We have an anonymous attendee say, back to my question about the bill and the tips and whatnot. The tip usually is based on the total amount, which includes the tax, but the tax performed no service for me. Why should we be paying a tip with the tax included?
That would be the Department of Revenue.
Okay. Yes. All right, Robin. We'll get off this. We're going to get off this topic. All right. So, folks, let's give Robin a big virtual round of applause for a wonderful presentation. Robin, I'm going to follow up with you with an email, hoping you can maybe help me out with some of these phone numbers and email addresses you referenced, websites. So, folks, look for an email from me, likely Tuesday morning, I'm going to be honest with you, with a feedback survey with this recording and with information about some other upcoming virtual programs. Want to thank the Friends of the Tewksbury Library and the 4 other libraries that partnered with us. And most importantly, want to thank Robin, want to thank all of you for joining us. Robin, any last words?
Just read the fine print. Before you go shopping, read the fine print.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, good advice. Pat says thank you. Ann says thank you. We all say thank you. So have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.